So these little books that Isha gives us are fabulous. They're really good quality paper. And I must admit, I don't use them when I'm actually on the holiday too much. I tend to take photographs with my phone. I know some of you will work a lot into your sketchbooks. So do you ever get your images out of your sketchbook or do they just stay in there looking beautiful? What I tend to do is use my phone and take photographs, and then when I get home, I then start to work on my designs. And the designs in this book are taken from a Suzani that I saw in Uzbekistan. Apologies, but I haven't had time to work up anything from Morocco yet. It's been a busy time. Always use tracing paper for doing tracings. Don't use baking parchment. Don't be cheap. Tracing paper is worth buying. It's not terribly expensive. And you've got a record of your design forever. If, in case you ever change it or something goes wrong, you can go back to your original tracing. You'll also need some Bondaweb or fusible web. I use Bondaweb because it has a really good backing paper on it. It's fabulous. It's got a rough side and a smooth side. When you're doing your tracing, you'll put the rough side down on top of your tracing and then draw onto the backing paper. You'll also need some fabrics. These are my hand-dyed silks and viscose satin. Oh, look at that, it's just gorgeous, isn't it? So yes, I tend to dye most of my fabrics, but obviously you can use shop-bought fabrics, you can use prints, you can use plains, whatever you fancy, but you will need fabric. You will also need an iron and baking parchment. Whenever you use Bondaweb, always make sure that you've got baking parchment underneath your work and on top of your work before the iron hits your work. The iron should always go onto baking parchment, never onto your Bondaweb. I use a pencil when I'm using tracing paper, and it's also useful for transferring or tracing a design onto the backing paper of the Bondaweb. If you find that you can't see your pencil line, then use a felt tip, whatever you fancy. So from my phone, I can send a photograph to my desktop, which has the printer attached via WhatsApp, because you can get WhatsApp on your desktop, or you can email it to yourself, however you can access your printer. Then I print off a black and white image of the design that I want to work with and interpret. I don't tend to copy directly. Number one, because my tracing skills aren't that good. I'm not that accurate. That'll come as no great surprise. And then I'll use tracing paper to trace the design off. And obviously you can do the same thing if you want to get a design out of your sketchbook. So this is the photo that I took of the Suzani in Uzbekistan. And then this is the black and white copy. We use black and white because colour is very distracting. You need to be able to see the lines clearly to trace over them. I then did a tracing of the black and white copy of the photograph, taking reasonable care to get all the lines and junctions correct. I then cut some Bondaweb to the same size as the tracing and place the Bondaweb rough side down onto the tracing, and then traced the design again onto the backing paper of the Bondaweb with a pencil or a felt tip if you fancy. I then roughly cut out the Bondaweb shapes and placed them on a different background just to check I'd got all the designs that I needed to create the final pattern. Then it was time to choose my fabrics. I didn't keep to the original colours. I chose what I had in my box at the time. It's your design. You can do whatever colours you like. I then ironed the Bondaweb shapes onto the different coloured fabrics that I'd chosen, remembering always to use baking parchment underneath and on top of your work. You don't want the Bondaweb sticking to your iron. Once you've ironed the Bondaweb shapes onto the back of your fabrics, then you can cut them out carefully to the right shape, peel the backing paper off, and then iron the fabric shapes in place. Always check you know the right position before you iron down for the last time. It's so irritating when you get things in the wrong place. Some of you will know about doing a plique with Bondaweb, but some of you might not. So you might find this useful. If you do manage to get something done, do pop it into the WhatsApp group. It would be great. And obviously you can stitch into the applique, whether you use machine or hand or a combination of both. I obviously haven't had time to do mine yet, but I will get round to it at some stage and I will put it in the group. So have fun and don't forget the baking parchment.